Have you ever found yourself grappling with the unspoken questions about intimacy, love, or the hidden struggles of relationships? What if the wisdom you need isn't in a self-help book or a distant lecture, but lies in the quiet, timeless words of someone who has lived it all? Today, we're going to share the story of a wise elderly woman whose teachings on intimacy and human connection have transformed the lives of many. Her words go beyond superficial advice, diving into the essence of vulnerability, communication, and true love. You'll learn how to navigate the challenges of relationships, understand your own body, and cultivate intimacy that thrives on acceptance and compassion. Stay with us until the end because her lessons could redefine how you view yourself, your relationships, and the connections that bring meaning to your life. Trust us, this is a story you don't want to miss. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I encourage you to click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on today's topic. If you enjoy the content, please comment 1 below. If it doesn't resonate with you, leave a 0. Your feedback is crucial as it helps me create better videos that align with your interests. Now, let's get started. One golden afternoon, the air was alive with the soft rustle of leaves as a gentle breeze passed through the ancient oak tree that stood at the heart of the village. Beneath its sprawling branches, a group of young men and women had gathered, their faces a tapestry of curiosity, nervousness, and hope. They had come to seek the guidance of the elderly woman, whose wisdom on life, love, and the delicate mysteries of intimacy had become legendary. The old woman sat on a weathered wooden bench, her figure framed by the dappled sunlight filtering through the leaves above. Her hands, marked by time with veins like rivers on a map, rested gracefully on her lap. Her silver hair was tied back loosely, giving her the appearance of someone both timeless and deeply grounded. Her eyes, crinkled at the corners, held a soft glow, a mixture of understanding, compassion, and the quiet confidence of one who had seen and survived the trials of life. The group hesitated, their youthful energy tempered by the weight of the questions they carried. Among them was a young man with a shy demeanor, his face tinged with a rosy hue of embarrassment. He fidgeted with his hands, his gaze flitting nervously between his peers and the elderly woman. Finally, he drew a deep breath, as if summoning every ounce of courage he possessed. "Grandmother," he began, his voice trembling with vulnerability, "what should a man do when, in a moment of intimacy, his penis does not become hard? It's something that frightens us, and we don't know how to face it without feeling ashamed." His words hung in the air, heavy with the rawness of his confession. The other young men shifted uncomfortably, their own unspoken fears mirrored in his question. The women exchanged glances, their faces a mix of empathy and curiosity. The elderly woman nodded slowly, her expression unchanged, as though she had anticipated such a question. She let the silence stretch for a moment, allowing the group to sit with the gravity of what had been said. Then, in a voice that was both gentle and steady, she began to speak. "My dear children," she said, her tone soothing like the murmur of a stream, "you must understand that what you are experiencing is far more common than you think. The human body, with all its beauty and complexity, does not always behave as we expect or desire. There are times when the heart, the mind, and the body are not in harmony, and in those moments, the body speaks to us in ways we may not fully understand." Her gaze swept across the group, ensuring that each of them felt seen and heard. She continued, her voice imbued with a quiet strength. "An erection, the hardening of the penis that many men wrongly equate with their sense of worth, is not merely a physical act. It is deeply connected to the rhythms of your mind, emotions, and spirit. Stress, exhaustion, hidden fears, or even fleeting worries can create barriers that disrupt this process. It is not a failure but a message from within, a call to pay attention to yourself with kindness and care." The young man who had asked the question seemed to relax slightly, his shoulders dropping as he absorbed her words. Another young man, his brow furrowed with thought, broke the silence. "But grandmother," he asked hesitantly, "doesn't this mean it's the man's fault? Does it mean he isn't attracted to his partner or doesn't love them enough?" The wise woman shook her head gently, her eyes softening with a compassion that seemed to wrap around them like a warm blanket. "Oh, my son," she said, her voice brimming with understanding, "it is not about fault or blame. Intimacy is not a performance, and it should never be a space for judgment. When the body does not respond as you hope, it is not a reflection of your love or your desire. It is simply a sign that something deeper, be it emotional, physical, or even spiritual, is in need of attention." Her words lingered, sinking into the hearts of her audience. A young woman with a gentle, earnest expression leaned forward, her voice tinged with concern. "Grandmother," she asked softly, "if this happens, how can we, as partners, support without making things worse or adding to the shame?" The elderly woman's face lit up with a tender smile, one that radiated both wisdom and reassurance. She reached out to rest her hand lightly on the young woman's arm, her touch a silent gesture of comfort. "My dear daughter," she began, "the answer lies in love and communication. If, in a moment of intimacy, an erection does not occur, the worst thing you can do is allow shame or silence to take root. Speak to one another. Create a safe space where no one feels inadequate or judged. Let your partner know that they are cherished for who they are, not for what their body does or does not do." She paused, her gaze turning inward, as though reflecting on memories of her own. "Intimacy," she continued, her voice growing softer, "is not defined by one act. It is found in the tender moments of connection, the warmth of a lingering embrace, the solace of shared laughter, the quiet joy of simply being together. It is in the way you hold each other, not with expectation but with acceptance, that love truly flourishes." The group sat in thoughtful silence, the weight of her words sinking in. Sensing their emotions, the elderly woman added, "Remember, my children, that true intimacy is not about perfection. It is about the willingness to be vulnerable, to show your imperfections without fear, and to hold space for your partner to do the same. It is in these moments of raw, unvarnished truth that love becomes its most profound." As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden glow over the gathering, the young men and women rose to their feet, their hearts lighter and their minds richer with the wisdom they had received. They left her presence carrying not just answers but a deeper understanding of themselves and the intricate beauty of human connection. The elderly woman watched them go, her heart full, knowing that her words would ripple through their lives like echoes of a timeless truth. Another young man, his hands clasped tightly and gaze fixed on the ground, finally broke the silence. With a voice laced with hesitation, he asked, "But, grandmother, what if this becomes a recurring issue? What if it happens more than once? Is it something we should fear?" If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. The wise woman turned her kind, understanding eyes toward him, her gaze steady and reassuring. "Ah, my son," she began, her tone as warm as sunlight breaking through a cloudy sky, "if this happens repeatedly, it is not a cause for shame, nor should it become a source of fear. It is, however, a signal, a gentle nudge from your body, asking for your attention. Sometimes, it is our body's way of telling us that our lives are out of balance. It could be the weight of work stress, the whispers of unresolved worries, or even physical health calling out for care. If you find this affecting you more often than it should, do not hesitate to seek help. There is no shame in asking for guidance from a healthcare professional. On the contrary, seeking help is a sign of wisdom and love, for yourself and for your partner." Her words carried a strength that seemed to reach deep into the hearts of her listeners. The young man nodded slowly, his face softening as though a burden had been lifted. The group, sensing the significance of her advice, leaned in closer, hanging on to every word. The wise woman continued, her voice now imbued with an almost poetic rhythm. "Remember, intimacy is not a competition. It is not about proving your worth or meeting some imagined standard. Intimacy is a sacred space, a meeting place where two souls can connect in their vulnerability, free of judgment or expectation. And it is within that vulnerability, my dear ones, that the strongest bonds are formed. If one of you feels insecure or struggles to meet certain expectations, the other must rise with compassion, offering comfort and reassurance, rather than critique or frustration. Love and desire transcend the physical. They are the language of the heart. A young woman, her hands clasped tightly to her chest, hesitated before speaking. Her voice trembled as she asked, "Grandmother, how can we, as women, help our partners feel more secure in those moments? How can we ensure that they don't feel judged or lessened?" The elderly woman's face softened further, her expression one of infinite patience and care. "Daughter," she said gently, her voice like the soothing rustle of leaves in the wind, "the greatest gift you can offer your partner is a safe harbor, a space where they know they are cherished, not for their physical performance, but for the essence of who they are. In moments of difficulty, instead of pushing to continue or making it about the act, focus on what truly matters, the connection between you. Embrace them, hold them close, and let them feel the strength of your support. Sometimes, a simple touch, a hand on their cheek, a kiss on their forehead, speaks louder than any words. It reminds them that love is present, even in imperfection." Her voice grew softer as she added, "Shift the focus, my child. Explore other ways to share intimacy. Hug, laugh, kiss, or simply talk. Sometimes, stepping away from the pressure of expectations allows the body and mind to relax, and from that relaxation, the natural rhythm of love can flow once more." The group exchanged glances, their expressions a mixture of awe and realization. They were beginning to see intimacy not as a performance or a goal, but as a journey, a shared experience rooted in understanding and mutual care. The wise woman's words had illuminated a path they had not seen before, one that led away from fear and self-doubt and toward compassion and acceptance. Sensing the weight of her words settling into their hearts, the elderly woman offered one final reflection, her voice now carrying the gravity of a truth that had taken her a lifetime to understand. "My dear ones," she said, her tone tender yet resolute, "never forget that true love is not measured by the perfection of the body but by the depth of the heart. The challenges you face in intimacy are not obstacles meant to divide you but opportunities. Opportunities to grow closer, to know each other more deeply, and to strengthen your bond. Do not let insecurity or fear drive a wedge between you and the ones you love. Instead, meet these moments with courage, honesty, and unwavering support for one another. This is where love thrives, in the space between expectations and acceptance." The young people sat in silence, their eyes brimming with gratitude. They felt they had been given a precious gift, a lesson not just about intimacy but about the essence of relationships themselves. When they rose to leave, each of them approached the wise woman, expressing their heartfelt thanks. They knew the wisdom she had shared that afternoon would not only guide them in their intimate lives, but also shape the foundation of relationships built on respect, understanding, and the transformative power of love. As the group dispersed, their hearts lightened by her words, the elderly woman watched them with a serene smile. She knew that her wisdom, born from years of joy and hardship, would ripple through their lives like stones cast into a still pond. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, she felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing that her words had planted seeds of compassion and understanding in a new generation. The group dispersed gradually, their footsteps soft and measured, as though each step carried the weight of a revelation too profound to rush. The wise woman's words hung in the air around them, not as a fleeting conversation, but as a tapestry of truths intricately woven into their hearts. They walked back to their homes with quiet minds and fuller souls, the gravity of the lessons they had received settling within them. It was as if she had handed them lanterns, small but radiant, to light their way through the uncertainties of relationships, intimacy, and the complexities of human connection. The young man who had spoken first, bearing a question wrapped in years of shame and self-doubt, felt a profound sense of liberation rising within him. For so long, he had believed his struggles were a deeply personal failing, a secret too shameful to voice. His insecurities had clung to him like a shadow, darkening moments that should have been filled with joy and connection. But now, as he replayed the wise woman's gentle words in his mind, he felt those shadows begin to dissolve. He was not alone. His experiences were not shameful, they were human. He felt a tear roll down his cheek as he walked, not from sadness, but from the release of a burden he no longer needed to carry. A smile broke through the tears, tentative at first, then growing as he realized the profound gift of being seen and understood. A young woman who had asked how to support her partner found her thoughts buzzing with possibility. For the first time, she saw vulnerability not as something to fear but as something to embrace. The wise woman's words had struck a chord within her, awakening a resolve to approach future relationships with a newfound openness. She thought of the time she had misunderstood her partner's silences, mistaking them for disinterest or inadequacy, when perhaps they had been cries for understanding. She vowed to listen more, to speak with kindness, and to create a space where love could thrive without judgment. Intimacy, she realized, was not merely a meeting of bodies but a joining of hearts, a sanctuary where two people could lay bare their imperfections and still find acceptance. Other members of the group walked in quiet reflection, each carrying their own revelations. One young man, who had often judged himself harshly for not meeting imagined standards of masculinity, now resolved to be gentler with himself. He thought about how often he had internalized societal expectations, letting them define his worth, and how freeing it was to let those expectations go. Another young woman found herself contemplating how seldom she had truly communicated her needs and fears in moments of intimacy. The wise woman's words had given her the courage to believe in the power of honest dialogue, to trust that love could hold space for vulnerability. As the young people returned to their homes, the wise woman remained in her modest cabin on the edge of the village. The evening light poured through the small window, casting a golden glow that softened the lines of her weathered face. She sat by the window, her gaze resting on the mountains in the distance, their ancient, unchanging presence a comforting reminder of life's enduring rhythms. The air was still, save for the occasional rustle of the trees, and the silence seemed to echo the peace within her heart. She smiled softly to herself, her thoughts lingering on the group of young people who had come to her. Though her days were fewer now, each one felt abundant in meaning. She had long accepted the inevitable passage of time, but in moments like this, she found solace in knowing that her words could ripple through the lives of others, shaping paths she would never see. It was a quiet joy, the kind that warmed her soul even as the years weathered her body. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, its golden rays giving way to a sky painted in deep hues of amber and crimson, a tranquil hush settled over the village. The air carried a sense of renewal, as though the wise woman's teachings had infused not just the young people but the entire community with a deeper awareness of empathy and connection. Windows glowed with soft lamplight, and the hum of evening life, children's laughter, the clink of dishes, murmured conversations, felt somehow gentler, touched by the wisdom shared that day. The young man who had first spoken sat in his room, a journal open before him. He had never written about his feelings before, but tonight, he found the words flowing effortlessly. He wrote about his fears, his doubts, and the hope that now replaced them. The act of writing felt like a release, a way to solidify the lessons he had learned. For the first time in years, he felt a sense of wholeness, a belief that he was enough just as he was. The young woman who had asked about supporting her partner lay awake in her bed, her thoughts alive with a quiet determination. She replayed the wise woman's words in her mind, letting them guide her into a new understanding of love's potential. She resolved to be the kind of partner who could weather storms, who could sit in silence and listen without rushing to fix or judge. She felt a deep gratitude for the wisdom she had received, knowing it would shape not only her intimate relationships but every connection she formed. Back in her cabin, the wise woman rose from her chair and lit a small lantern. She moved to her bookshelf, filled with volumes she had read countless times, their spines worn from years of study and reflection. Her fingers brushed against the books as she thought of the knowledge she had passed on that day. She did not see herself as extraordinary. She was simply a vessel through which life's lessons flowed. And yet, she felt a profound sense of fulfillment in knowing that her words had touched lives. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. As the stars began to emerge in the deepening night, the village seemed to breathe in unison, its rhythm subtly altered by the seeds of wisdom planted that day. The young people, now scattered in their homes, carried those seeds within them, and the wise woman knew they would blossom in time. Some would take years to fully understand the depth of her teachings, while others would begin to see the changes in their lives almost immediately. Regardless, the impact was undeniable. The wise woman sat quietly, her gaze once again on the mountains, now silhouetted against the twilight sky. She closed her eyes, her heart full of peace. She knew that her time in this world was limited, but she also knew that her legacy would endure, not in the form of monuments or accolades, but in the lives she had touched, the heart she had opened, and the love she had inspired. And as the night deepened, she drifted into sleep, the soft smile on her face a reflection of a life well lived, a life devoted to giving others the courage to embrace their vulnerabilities and the strength to love fully. In the quiet stillness of the night, the village rested, its people held in the gentle embrace of a wisdom that transcended time. The young people, deeply inspired by the wise woman's words, could not keep her teachings to themselves. Her wisdom was too profound, too life-altering, to remain confined to their own hearts. Slowly, they began to share her lessons with others in the village. At first, these conversations were quiet and intimate, exchanged between close friends or whispered in moments of vulnerability. But as the young people grew more confident, they started speaking more openly, allowing her words to ripple outward, reaching hearts and minds across the community. They spoke of the importance of communication, of creating spaces where emotions could be shared without fear of judgment. They emphasized the need to release blame, to see vulnerability not as a weakness but as a bridge to deeper connection. They described love as something far greater than mere physicality, a force that could transcend barriers and flourish even in the face of imperfection. The villagers listened, first with curiosity and then with awe, as these young people carried forward the lessons of empathy and compassion they had received. Over time, the wise woman's teachings began to transform the community. Couples who had once struggled with unspoken misunderstandings started to open their hearts to one another, speaking honestly about their fears and desires. They discovered that the act of sharing vulnerability, rather than creating distance, brought them closer than ever. Parents began to approach their children with greater patience, recognizing that love was not about control or expectation but about fostering growth and trust. Even friendships grew stronger, as the villagers learned to listen more deeply, to offer support without judgment, and to celebrate each other's triumphs without envy. The impact of her wisdom extended far beyond the realm of intimacy. Her teachings became a guiding philosophy, a way of living that touched every aspect of their lives. The villagers began to see the power of kindness and the strength that came from unity. They realized that life's challenges were not meant to be faced alone, but could be eased through mutual understanding and shared resilience. The wise woman's words, so carefully spoken, became the invisible thread that wove the community together. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Years passed, and the wise woman's presence in the village grew quieter. Her once busy days of teaching and listening gave way to peaceful evenings spent in her small cabin, gazing at the mountains that had watched over her life. Eventually, the day came when she was no longer with them, and the village mourned her deeply. It was as though the very air had grown heavier with her absence, the world a little dimmer without her gentle smile and steady voice. Yet, even in their grief, the villagers found comfort. They knew that her spirit remained, carried in the hearts of all who had been touched by her wisdom. Determined to honor her memory, the villagers came together to create something lasting, something that would reflect the beauty of her soul and the timelessness of her teachings. They decided to build a garden, a serene and sacred space where her presence could be felt even in her absence. Nestled beneath the great oak tree where she had so often shared her wisdom, the garden became a living tribute to her life. The villagers planted flowers she had loved, their vibrant colors a reminder of the warmth she had brought to their lives. They placed benches beneath the tree's canopy, inviting visitors to sit in quiet reflection. At the center of the garden stood a simple stone plaque, engraved with her most cherished words. True wisdom is not in knowing all the answers, but in approaching life with love, empathy, and an open heart. The garden quickly became a sanctuary for the villagers. Those facing moments of doubt or hardship would walk its paths, finding solace in the gentle rustle of leaves and the soft fragrance of blooming flowers. Couples would sit together on the benches, holding hands as they reflected on the lessons that had strengthened their bond. Friends would gather there to share stories, their laughter echoing through the trees, a testament to the community the wise woman had helped to build. Even strangers, drawn to the garden by its quiet beauty, found themselves touched by the sense of peace that seemed to radiate from its very soil. Her teachings became an enduring legacy, passed down from one generation to the next. Parents shared her lessons with their children, weaving her wisdom into bedtime stories and family traditions. Teachers incorporated her principles into their classrooms, guiding young minds toward kindness and understanding. Elders, who had known her personally, shared memories of her with younger villagers, their voices filled with reverence and gratitude. She taught us to see each other, they would say, not just with our eyes, but with our hearts. Decades turned into centuries, and while the wise woman's name began to fade from memory, her teachings remained. The garden she had inspired flourished, its flowers blooming year after year, a living testament to the power of her wisdom. Travelers who passed through the village would hear of the garden and visit, marveling at the tranquility that seemed to embrace them as soon as they entered. They would sit among the flowers and read the words on the plaque, carrying her message to distant lands and unknowable futures. And so, in that small village cradled by timeless mountains, the wise woman's spirit lived on, not only in the garden that bore her name but in the hearts of all who had been touched by her kindness. Her legacy became a beacon, a guiding light that reminded the villagers, and all who heard her story, that true strength lies in love, that true connection is born of empathy, and that true wisdom is found not in perfection but in the courage to approach life with an open heart. Her life became a story told in quiet moments and shared in times of need, a reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness can ripple outward, touching lives in ways we may never fully understand. The garden remained a place of peace, its beauty growing richer with each passing year, just as her teachings continued to grow in the hearts of those who embraced them. And in every act of compassion, in every moment of understanding, the wise woman's spirit found new life, a testament to the enduring power of love and the timeless gift of wisdom shared freely with the world. What have you learned from this profound story? Has it made you rethink how you approach love, intimacy, or even your relationships with others? We'd love to hear your thoughts. What is one lesson you'll bring to practice in your life? Share it in the comments below. If this story touched your heart or gave you a new perspective, please leave a comment, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more inspiring content like this. Your support helps us bring more wisdom and life lessons to light. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.